as we welcome you back inside alongside Royce Young. I'm Paris Lawson, and to say that every game takes on a life of its own, it's true. However, you look at this game, and I would say, Royce, that it followed a very similar script to what we saw in Game 2. The Thunder go into halftime. They're trailing, this time by 2. Last game in Game 2, they were trailing by 1 point, and we saw a fury of a run with this group in the third quarter to completely turn the tides of this game.
I'll do you one better. It felt a lot like the games at 3 and 4 in Phoenix as well.
Great point.
Road games on the playoffs where the home team, as you would expect, came out, played with a ton of energy, a ton of effort, and the Lakers knocked down a ton of shots in that first half and started to kind of put some pressure on OKC to respond and to execute. And very similar to those games, and like you said, Game 2 as well, the Thunder just weathered storms, continued to play well, and then were able to start kind of stacking defensive stops up in that third quarter. And really what kind of flipped the game around, and I think this is a really cool element of this Thunder team, Isaiah Joe, those 2 big threes, late third quarter. I think it allowed OKC to take an 11-point lead into the fourth quarter. But Game 2, we were sitting here talking about Jared McCain and the spark that he added. Now it's Isaiah Joe on the floor, spacing and knocking down big shots. And it's just a great reminder. Every Thunder fan already knows this. Every player sitting on that bench is available, they are ready, and they are willing to step in and make an impact when their number is called. There's no formula, there's no template necessarily.
Right.
They just step on the floor and they make an impact, and that's what Isaiah Joe did in that second half.
It's the Thunder's biggest superpower is the amount of guys that they can call upon at any given moment in a basketball game. Another element to this, if you just want to take a macro view of this game and what the Thunder was able to accomplish, let's remind you that this is a Game 3 of a playoff series, and for the Thunder, historically, this has been one of those games that they have tallied as just one of those things they wanted to work on, make sure that they came out, throw a great punch. And we heard from the Thunder after Game 3 in Phoenix where they felt like, in playoffs prior, they felt like they left a little bit to be desired, but this has been something that's been top of mind for them to make sure that they're playing strong in Game 3s.
Yeah, it's a great example of just the lessons learned and how the experiences have really dictated the mindset of the team. And like you said, Paris, last season they didn't play great in Game 3s. They won some of them. They beat Memphis on the road, but they trailed by, 27 in that game. Didn't win the Game 3 in Denver, didn't win the Game 3 against Minnesota. But they played better against Phoenix, and I think they played better again, kind of stacking on top of it tonight. Again, the Lakers really kind of threw out a number of different looks. They played Shea a little more straight up, kind of that traditional gap coverage that we see so many teams go with. And I think it disrupted Shea just a little bit. He tried to kind of snap back into kind of looking for his own offense a little more aggressively. But as the game went on, of course, SGA started knocking down shots, finding that rhythm. Kaysen Wallace had a huge first half, kind of as a result of that. Again, Chet Holmgren was able to capitalize on some of that. So some of these Thunder players, even with the different looks that the Lakers threw at them, really were able to take advantage.
Let's talk about some of the guys that contributed at a high level in this one, starting with the Thunder's leading scorer tonight, AJ Mitchell, 24 points, 10 assists, a double-double in a playoff game, and all the while just competing at a high level, but being so efficient out there on the court. Royce, what did you see from him?
I mean, it's just an amazing thing. We've said it a lot, that he's a second-year player. This is his first real playoff
maturity.
Experience. I mean, but it is so remarkable to watch A.J. Mitchell and the way that he handles the pressure of these games. Because, we've been around the NBA for a while. What you see a lot in NBA postseason basketball is how heavy the possessions can get. The ball can feel a little heavier in your hands because you start wondering, should I be the one taking the shot right now in this close game? Should it be me? And AJ Mitchell, just no flinching, no blinking, no fear. And we've heard that from a lot of his teammates. He's been empowered by them. They understand he's such a gifted player, but he's always making great decisions with the ball. And then on top of it, just the activity he plays with. He was a part of that kind of flurry in the fourth quarter where the Thunder seemed to be getting every miss. And, Isaiah Hartenstein was huge in that, but AJ was attacking loose balls himself, and he was a beneficiary of an and one. And then he got his own miss back on the free throw and set up Lou Dort for another 3. So, I mean, just the activity, it's the poise, the composure, but also the effort that a guy like AJ Mitchell plays with.
And we've talked about it before, the force that he also plays with, because, mind you, he's a downhill scorer, but he's not the biggest guy out here on the court. That takes some fearlessness, that takes some competitiveness, and it takes some toughness because he's taken some hits in these games, but he's popped right back up, and he's kept attacking downhill nonetheless.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. I mean, he's a great and one player. I mean, he finishes through contact. And, I think there's something to be said about the left-handed player, right, Paris?
I think so, too.
I mean,
there's something about it.
I do think that kind of just slight shift in the unorthodox nature that he's so strong at finishing with his left hand. AJ by no means is a one-handed player. He's great going to his right as well. He kind of likes to go right and pull up left a lot of times. times, but he's great at finishing with the left hand. And I think he's just really good at keeping his defender a little bit off balance at times. And, it's kind of an amazing thing to me as well. AJ's a very good spot-up three-point shooter, knocked down a big one in the fourth quarter. But he also seems to get every defensive player to bite on that pump fake. They cannot help themselves but bite on that pump fake because they know of what a threat he is standing behind the three-point line.
He's got such great pace and tempo, good control on the offensive end of the floor, and an overall immaculate game by him in Game 3 on the road, mind you, and that just adds another wrinkle to all of this for Oklahoma City. We talk about the composure and the poise. It's one thing to do that at home in your own home crowd environment, where when you get on that run, that crowd is just going to be furious behind you. But on the road, especially in this arena, it's not always the case.
I mean, that's a big thing that people love to say is a cliche in NBA history, is that your bench doesn't always travel. That doesn't seem to be a big problem for the Thunder, because to your point that you made earlier, Paris, when you can go down the bench and you have so many different options that you can tap into, that it just, there's more potential for somebody to break through in a game and find that rhythm. Isaiah Joe did it. AJ Mitchell, who's obviously starting right now, but he's kind of in that bench unit, so to speak. So many different guys. When you can lean on different players and find those matchups, find those gaps in the game, I mean, what a luxury it is for Coach Mark Daigneault and the staff to be able to kind of say, all right, Isaiah Joe really wasn't a huge factor in Game 2, but he's going to be one in Game 3.
Yeah.
And not to say Jared McCain wasn't good. He knocked down some shots in the first half.
Came
was
in,
great
hit a huge three.
But it's also the unselfish mindset. It's not like anybody's saying, I got to get my minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, what can I do to help the team when you call my number?
Well, we talked about one southpaw in AJ Mitchell. Let's talk about another one in Isaiah Hartenstein. Our very own Nick Gallo got a chance to catch up with the big man after the game. Let's listen in.
All right.
I got him too.
All right, this team, you come out, you outscore those guys by 25 in the second half. What is it about this group that can learn in-game and apply it so quick?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of high IQ players. At halftime, we knew we had to be a lot better. We had to execute a lot better. And I think we just came out with a different energy, and we played the way we should.
Yeah, and defensively, just nothing was easy for them. You dominated in terms of the paint, and eventually their shooting cooled down. What was the difference defensively specifically?
Just picking up intensity, just playing more of a team defense, playing more team offense, and just limiting the second chances. And I think everyone did a great job in the second half, just really just picking it up.
You've developed such a partnership with AJ Mitchell in a really short time. Tell me about how that's developed and what you saw from him tonight to set you up.
Yeah, he's been huge. I mean, each game he gets better and better. You would think he's been in the league for I don't know how many years, just how poised he is, and he was big for us tonight.
Game 3 on the road against a veteran, tough team. What does it say about this group to win this game going away the way you did?
It was huge. Yeah. Dub, you want to say something?
Say something, Dub.
Dub, say something.
I'm very proud of this group.
Oh, my God.
They're doing really well, but we have one more game. So we're going to enjoy this tonight and get back to the drawing board. There's a lot of stuff we got to improve on.
Perfect media training. Love it.
Also, look, y'all. Look, y'all.
I got you, Dub.
Thanks, guys.
He might not be playing, but he is always dialed in. J-Dub contributing to that walk-off interview with Isaiah Hartenstein and our very own Nick Gallo. Some great stuff. And to Nick's point, he talked about the fact that nothing came easy for the Lakers in this game here tonight. And one thing that always stands out to me is when that lineup on the court of Cason Wallace, you've got Alex Caruso and Lou Dort out there at the same time, and I'm just questioning how the Lakers intend on scoring the basketball.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you have perimeter-oriented players as well. I mean, it just has to be exhausting. I mean, we've talked about it before, is that you can have pockets of the game where you feel like you're executing well against OKC, but what is so challenging is to do it for 48 minutes.
Exactly.
And there's some point in the game, and some of that has to do, I think, with both physical fatigue and mental fatigue, that they're just kind of wear you down and crack you open. And that's what those three perimeter dogs often do. And when you got guys like Isaiah Hartenstein and Chet Holmgren patrolling the paint behind you and so disciplined with that and so dialed in on their coverages, makes it really hard to score on OKC for 48 minutes.
One thing the Thunder knows for sure, teams are going to get their licks in, but their ability to respond is second to none. All right, let's get you over to the press room so you could hear from Thunder head coach Mark Daigneault postgame.
Yeah, I thought the first half, credit them, they had us on our heels a little bit. They shot the ball exceptionally well. They were 55% from three at halftime. They had 7 offensive rebounds. And so we were fortunate to be down by 2 in the first half. And I think, sometimes teams look at that and they just assume the game's going to turn, but we got to understand that we have to be the ones to turn the game, and that's what we did. We played better defense, fought on the glass, kept our pace up offensively, and played obviously an exceptional second half.
What else we got? Joel and then Tim.
Mark, JJ was saying before the game,
When a player is as inexperienced as he is, not only in the postseason, I mean, he's had 2 seasons where he's had long stretches where he's missed time, so he doesn't have a ton of basketball in the NBA. The growth curve of players young in their career is steep, and he's a guy that he's hungry. He's also humble, so he grows from all of his experiences. He's been great in the postseason so far, but he hasn't been overly efficient yet. I think that's a little bit of like the intensity of the games, the physicality, the length, and just learning the pictures. He's also playing against starters right now. And yet, he stays aggressive. He just keeps learning. He's done a great job. He had obviously a great game, great second half.
Well, what did AJ show you specifically there, that first half of the fourth quarter when Shea's sitting?
The first half of the fourth quarter. I got you.
5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, the same aggression that he's kind of had. The first play was a pass to Hartenstein. Like he's still making the right plays. He found Hartenstein on another one that was just kind of like he had him and we didn't complete the play. But like he just lets the game tell him what to do, but he maintains a certain aggression and confidence that's impressive. And it really doesn't matter what happened the last possession or the last half or the last game, which is usually a mark of like a more veteran player. Usually those guys kind of get to that point. He's got kind of an innate ability to do that. That's pretty impressive, and he just kind of hangs in there long enough to play well. And he blew the game open there.
We talked earlier about the defense and how exhausting it is to play against the Thunder. Well, imagine you're struggling to get into the paint yourself, and then you're just watching them score easy buckets at the rim. And I shouldn't call them easy buckets because sometimes they're not so easy. I mean, they've got to battle for those. AJ Mitchell had some very crafty, creative finishes. Some of it was the offensive rebounding. Isaiah Hartenstein, again, I mean, he was so good early on in that fourth quarter, whether it was the putback element or just him keeping possessions alive. But anytime you're getting anything in that restricted area, that feels like found money because it's so hard to earn it no matter who you're playing against. I mean, that's the whole point of a defensive possession is to keep you away from that spot. And the Thunder are, with the ability that they have in the schemes that they draw up or just the individual talent are able to find their way into the paint so often.
And I think these two numbers go hand in hand because we talked about the points in the paint, but the other area that the Thunder won massively was the points off turnovers. And I think that was pretty tangible just by laying eyes on this game. That it passed the eye test. The Thunder 30 points off turnovers compared to just 11 allowed for the Lakers. So that margin, you get those transition points, you get out on the break, that's going to lead to some easy looks in the paint.
Yeah, we talked the defense to offense thing a lot, but what I think that sometimes gets a little bit overlooked is just how good OKC is at finishing the defense to offense, because there was times where the Thunder got turned over themselves, and you watch OKC in the way that they get back and match up and really try to build a wall up to at least force the other team to have to execute a half-court set against them. We all understand this. It's a lot harder to score against a set half-court defense than it is when the floor is broken and people are trying to call out matchups because, we talk about Chet getting mismatches. That's when you can catch Luke Kennard on Shea or whatever it is, and you can really break the floor open. I think somebody that's so good at this is Alex Caruso. When he forces a turnover, not just about blazing down to the rim, but AC collapses a defense down and really just immediately creates an advantageous offensive trip. So many Thunder players really have that ability to put the pressure on the defense right away after turnovers.
This is what we talk about when we say relentless effort by Oklahoma City, because it's one thing to get the steal, it's one thing to get the turnover, it's another thing to keep that possession going and make sure it translates into points on the other end of the floor. That relentless effort also shows up defensively when you see the Thunder and how they are fighting through screens, fighting over screens, not just letting themselves get screened. They're constantly helping, talking, pointing. There is so much activity happening on a single defensive possession for Oklahoma City, and that goes to show why it is so difficult to try to sustain an effort against this team for a full 48 minutes.
It makes me think about when I was talking with Dub in the film room about some of the chemistry chemistry that people kind of focus on offensively, but so much of chemistry shows up on the defensive end because, communication on the defensive end is obviously paramount. It's very important to be able to call out coverages. Jalen Williams, Jay Will is so good at that. You can hear his voice booming all the way up at the top sometimes, but sometimes you don't have the opportunity to really call that out because the offense is executing at a very high level or they're trying to force a switch on you at the last second. So you've got to really kind of tap into that kind of unspoken communication where you're just kind of, maybe you can point, maybe you can't, but you just understand this is what my job is to do in this situation. And the Thunder, it is an amazing thing to watch a 24-second defensive possession sometimes where they are switching just so quickly and cutting off what seems like it would probably be a nice little backdoor pass or a pocket pass to a cutting player. And the Thunder just have it snuffed out, and all of a sudden there's 7 on the shot clock, and the opposing offense is trying to find a shot late in it. And that's where OKC really, really makes it frustrating to play against.
Just to bring it full circle, to bring it back to Chet, he had an incredible defensive possession here. Jared McCain was matched up to LeBron James, almost had a little bit of a one-on-one battle, but Chet eyeballing that from very early on in the possession, crossed over the paint and switched on to LeBron James and made Jared McCain, had him go back to his man. And that just small interaction, guess what it led to? A 24-second shot clock violation for the Lakers. Those small things lead to larger things for Oklahoma City, and it led to a big win here inside of Crypto.com Arena. All right, we're going to take a brief break, but don't go anywhere. Hey, everybody, welcome back inside. I'm Paris Lawson alongside Royce Young. One player we still need to give a lot of flowers to in this one, Cason Wallace. An absolute phenomenal two-in performance by him. The first half shooting, immaculate, 4 for 4 from the field. That included 3 for 3 from behind the three-point line. He finished with 16 points in this one, coming off the bench for Oklahoma City. But we just talk about the amount of guys that can be in the starting lineup for Oklahoma City. To have a guy as valuable as Cason in your rotation to call upon off the bench, wow, that is such a luxury for OKC.
No doubt about it. We heard Coach Mark talk about how well the Lakers played in that first half, and a lot of the numbers would really kind of would suggest that LA would have had a bigger lead than 2 for sure. And a lot of the reason that they didn't was because of Cason Wallace. And those 3 threes that he hit were timely, they were important, and also it really kind of softens the defense up when they're trying to dial in on their coverage and try to take it away from Shea or AJ Mitchell, and when those other players are able to step in with confidence and rhythm. And Coach Mark talked about a little bit, that's the benefit in some ways of what the Thunder saw in games 1 and 2 is these different players kind of were able to develop some rhythm, feel the ball in their hands, play make a little bit, have open shots, and Cason Wallace obviously took advantage of that in the first half. And of course defensively, I mean, he's so good on the ball, guards so many different positions, did so good on Austin Reeves. He just really frustrates Austin Reeves, gets up into his handle at different times. And again, just Cason Wallace, the two-in performance is so impressive all the time.
The disruption defensively can go under the radar because this is a guy who has led the league in steals all season long. He had some of those disruptive moments in this one, but it's really just his ability to just keep plays from getting to the rim or just stop opportunities at the perimeter. It takes a certain level of physicality. It takes a certain level of anticipation by Oklahoma City and by Cason Wallace to do that, but he's also built up a lot of experience to be able to make those reads early on.
No doubt about it. I mean, again, sometimes he's choosing to go under a screen or over a screen. He's kind of deking the screener sometimes to kind of try to disrupt what the offensive players trying to get to. And I think, again, you said experience. Cason Wallace, that's something he told me preseason was just that, you kind of start to build up that Rolodex on different players and how they like to go through screens, how they like to handle in different circumstances. And Cason is so creative. He's got some of the best hands in the NBA.
He does.
With how he can just kind of poke the ball away or just get a deflection. I'm sure Lou Dort's been a big part of just kind of teaching because, Lou Dort to me has always been one of the best players at getting over the top of the screen. Getting skinny to a screen and getting over it. And Cason, you can really see that ability of how he just is able to kind of attach himself to the offensive player. And when you blow up that first action, again, we talked about the shot clock. It becomes your 6th defender sometimes because you can blow up those actions, and that's what Cason's so good at.
The Thunder uses so much to their advantage, whether it's their depth or the shot clock and forcing that to be a 6th defender out there.
You can't have 6 defenders.
The Thunder finds a way to do it. And then you also add that on top of the fact that they have such elite perimeter defenders. And in the playoffs, Royce, I mean, you could probably speak to this more than I can. When you have that level of depth, continuity, chemistry on the court, on the defensive end of the floor, that is so incredibly valuable because in the playoffs, possessions just tend to slow down and you tend to have to really lock in and understand how to execute at such a high level.
Well, especially as a series goes on, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about now the Thunder have had, I don't know how many days, 10 days of straight film work on the
Yeah.
Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, talk about being dialed into what a different team does. And so if you can, obviously you're going to have it intellectually be able to kind of disrupt that, but then to put it into action and be able to accomplish what you want to do on defensive possessions, it takes great skill, great talent, and a great commitment to what your plan is.
Yeah.
And we talked about it earlier of just how the Thunder are so tight in their coverages so often and the discipline. Mark talks about the fundamental elements. That is so important because, there can be times where I think that we think about kind of going rogue on the offensive end and how the Thunder do such a good job of not doing that. Defensively, they are so fundamentally sound that people fixate on the turnovers they force and the steals they create. That's not from gambling. It's not from getting outside of the coverage. It's from being within that coverage and being in the right spot at the right time because you're able to blow up those offensive possessions.
Do you know how much discipline that takes
Yeah,
to
a
be
lot.
able to stay within the team concept, not get greedy, not try to gamble and get these extra possessions? I mean, the Thunder does that sometimes, but it's because they know they've got a guy like Chet Holmgren on the
Absolutely.
backside that can help them out. So that's what we're talking about. All of these things are very cumulative for Oklahoma City, whether it's the pressure on the perimeter or just stacking up those high-level defensive possessions. As a result, it leads to easy offense on the other end. And what we saw from Oklahoma City, I feel like in the third quarter, Royce, was a lot of that momentum building up to lead to some really good shot making as well.
It was that classic like two-way flow,
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
it? Like where the stops started stacking up, the possessions started getting tougher for the Lakers, and I think. Paris, when you start stacking up stops defensively, it creates a little extra freedom offensively where you've got so much confidence that you're going to be able to get a stop on the other end that, again, you talk about the postseason and how the ball gets heavier in your hands and possessions get weightier. But that kind of relieves a little of that stress, I think, because you're like, all right, even if this isn't maybe the best shot to take right here, I can take it with confidence because I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to get a stop on the other end. And again, that's a unique element. People kind of almost make basketball very binary about offense and defense. This isn't football. This isn't there isn't linebackers and quarterbacks.
Yep.
Everybody's got to play both sides of the ball.
That's
and
right.
the game flows back and forth. And that's what makes the Thunder so spectacular is that they've got players that flow back and forth as well as anybody from defense to offense to offense to defense.
What were your observations of the Lakers during that stretch? Because what we've seen from the Thunder all season long is that when they start to get in that rhythm and they start to get in that flow, it's just possession by possession. You can see just the energy deflating from the other team. And it's really hard to get the ball back moving when the Thunder has that level of momentum.
You could just, the body language element. They start trying to, force things a little bit more. They start trying to kind of get to the free throw line a little bit more to maybe try to find some points. Again, just the frustration element really starts to build up. And, the Lakers, to their credit, they've got one of the best kind of stabilizers in the game in LeBron James. You can just kind of throw the ball down to him. He's unbelievable at really creating offense on his own or for somebody else. He's one of the best all time. But again, the Thunder, you could really kind of see what the plan was when the Lakers did that. It was you got Lou Dort who's chesting him up and forcing him out, and then you have the help there ready to step over. And Thunder did such a good job in those coverages.
As a result, they pick up this Game 3 win here on the road inside of Crypto.com Arena. All right, let's take a look at what's up next.